Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Welcome to a new episode of today's Best Stock Picks. It's Thursday, July 16th, 2020. And man, we got a lot to unpack today. Yesterday was a little bit of a lighter volume, choppy day. There were a few opportunities. But if you're new to trading, or if especially new to active trading, one thing that we're noticing, I can kind of give you some feedback from what we're experiencing in the trading room right now. Which, by the way, if you want to learn tape reading, you can get involved and watch us in real time for the next 30 days. Click the link below. You'll find out more about it. Earnings, big earnings today, a lot of earnings. We're going to discuss Netflix. We're going to discuss an IPO. But first, I want to talk about something that I think can help you immediately, which is we're finding right now that especially in this market where we're going up one day, down the next day, sideways the next day, inside day, we're finding right now that the best profitable trades, I want to make that clear, best, I'm not talking about the best idea right now. We're talking about, we're going to assume you're looking at a good idea. The most profitable trades for us right now have been buying pullbacks because a lot of the breakouts have been failing. And it just stands to reason that because there's so much indecision in the market, I actually watched Jim Cramer a little bit yesterday, which I don't normally do. I just kind of make my own decisions. The headline popped up that he said there's 4 different factions in the market right now fighting each other for control. And I agree. I mean, the bottom line is there's a lot of indecision right now. There's the ultimate optimist, the ultimate pessimist. And we saw that yesterday, which we're going to discuss today. The coronavirus news of mRNA, Moderna having a positive phase 1 test caused a lot of the outside stocks to pop, you know, we'll talk airlines and that kind of stuff for one day. And those stocks, I'm getting all these messages now, should I buy, should I buy, should I buy? It's one day. Give the stocks a chance to actually say that they're going to come back today and be involved again. And that includes the casino stocks, which we're going to take a look at today. But we're going to talk about, obviously, we're going to discuss Netflix, big earnings today after the close. There's bank earnings today. But I want to talk about the IPO NCNO. And I get quite a few questions about trading earnings. And I get quite a few questions about IPOs and trading IPOs. And I'm going to show you why I am, and I'm going to say, please take this into context of what I'm about to say. I want to try and keep most traders in obvious situations. And earnings are not obvious situations because we get the same question brought up over and over and over again. Pete, I don't understand good earnings and the stock sold off. Pete, I don't understand bad earnings and the stock rallied. So we're not going to teach that here, especially here on YouTube. We are going to discuss that in a lot more detail inside the private community, inside the boot camp. But we're going to talk about the IPO, NCNO. Somebody actually typed it in yesterday. William typed it in, and he caught me off guard because it wasn't in my thought process at the moment in our 9 o'clock meeting. But I want to show you why new traders or traders that don't have a lot of discipline yet, who are basically just buying because it's going fast and they want to get involved, end up losing their shirts in 2 days because they're not prepared to make decisions. So I'm going to use this as a public service announcement for you deciding, do you have decisive action that you take if trades move against you, and do you know when and where to get into those trades? So we're going to look at that very quickly, then we're going to talk about NCNO. Oh, by the way, if you find these videos helpful, definitely click down and subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any feedback or you want us to look at something. So this is NCNO from yesterday, and this is exactly why I can't talk about this in our trading room, because there's a lot of new people in there trying to get their feet wet and really understand what it means to learn to be a trader. And it's my responsibility, my whole purpose for opening up the trading room is to put you in a position where you can gain absolute unshakable confidence, because there's price history behind the stock, because there's high likelihood of the stock moving in your favor. And the stock exploded and then got crushed. And let's just call it rookie traders who are chasing action, not chasing probabilities, not trading based on their edge, will tend to get their head handed to them because they're buying, expecting the same exact thing to happen the next day. And then the stock goes from 92 to 69 and they get crushed. And in one 24-hour period, you blow up your account. So if you ask me questions about these kind of stocks that are kind of, I'm not going to say off the beaten path, I'm going to say more that don't have obvious price history where we could make trades with absolute confidence because we know what we're looking at and we feel that the risk reward has a high probability of working out, I'm going to tend to stay away from those ideas because we speak to a lot of people who are new, confused, overwhelmed. And if you fit that category, you definitely want to be involved in our community because that's what we do. We walk you through situations where you learn to avoid what is a low probability situation. And those situations kind of destroy your confidence and your ability to focus because you're shell shocked. But then you get really good situations and you start to gain confidence and you start to see what you should avoid and what you should hop on. So I think this is a good example. I'm not telling everybody don't trade it. I'm telling you that if you have the conviction that you are good enough to handle fast moves and make good decisions, by all means. I'm just trying to point out the most obvious stuff so that the community can grow and we could understand as a group, amplifying the good ideas that we can that we could look at together. So obviously you can see there's only 2 days worth of price action. So anyway, Netflix is look, the pandemic's getting worse. What are we expecting to have happen here? Futures are down here this morning. They've been holding around the same level. We also have an ECB announcement on interest rates today at 7:45, roughly an hour from where I'm talking right now, 7:45 in the morning. So keep an eye on the futures to see if we bounce in one direction or the other as well. And J&J, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, and Schwab also have earnings today. So a lot on the docket today. Depending on how the news unfolds, we could be really trending in one direction pretty hard today. Yesterday was interesting. We gapped up, stayed below the open price the entire day in the market, and then had a lot of rallies in stocks yesterday at the lows and rallied the last 4 hours, which I want to discuss. One of the big ones that seem to be getting some volume and something different's happening on the tape right now. And I think it might be a little bit of an overreaction to the mRNA news, to the Moderna news, but let's let the price action tell us. But anyway, for Netflix, buy the rumor, sell the news. We've already gone from 440 to let's call it 578, and now we're consolidating. So has the good earnings been priced in already, and where does the stock go from there? I get a lot of questions about trading after hours. I get a lot of questions about trading earnings after hours. It's a whole different ballgame than trading regular hours. Again, I'm going to do a public service announcement. These stocks that can move incredibly fast, absolute day trader and active trader heaven. You want that. You do not want to trade in a market or in a stock that's doing this where it's not going anywhere. You want this when it finally breaks out and gives you some consistent activity. We're obviously getting that from Netflix. So the trade in Netflix for me personally, I'm going to actively trade it the first few hours of the day. I need to see it stay above 523 today and above today's open for me to be an active day trader in the stock today. If those conditions are not met, I'm going to stay away because I don't want to short the stock. It's obviously still strong. After earnings today, I'm going to look to be aggressive in the direction of the guidance. The guidance is the big thing looking forward. So we're going to talk about two other ones that actually a whole group of stocks that are affected by the news. Again, we saw a lot of casino stocks yesterday, Penn National Gaming. We're going to get to Wynn in a second. But this has been the line in the sand for the stock. And you can see going back a while, it's been having a hard time getting through this level. This is going back years. This is 2018. This is the start of 2020 where we got through it. And obviously the pandemic failed. Excuse me, that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, over here, exactly. So then we got through it and failed, got through it and failed. This really was an area that we thought we finally got through that on good volume. And believe it or not, just this one day, because we traded it pretty actively here and punched through here and it looked awesome. But again, this is what we're seeing in a market that's got a lot of indecision. We're breaking out, pulling back, breaking out and pulling back. And now we're back up there again. So I want to point this out very clearly. There is not much consistency to the order flow here. You could basically say the stock's almost in a 2-month trading range. It was a little bit different here on this breakout. So this one day we really, really did well because we had basically 3 weeks of buying, which even that is not a lot. We bounced off the lows, but this was pretty consistent and it was easier for us to make money because it was obvious from day to day. And when we punched through here, we thought it was awesome. So this is, in my opinion, this is a little bit of an overreaction or a positioning if and when things get better. And look, I think everybody's looking for a sigh of relief to say we're getting back to normal. My point is Penn and especially Wynn, which Wynn bounced, I think 8% yesterday or something along those lines, are going to be active. And the thing with Wynn that is super interesting to me right now, excuse me, is the spike in volume. This day here was before the Moderna news. So we're starting to see heavier volume in when, again, I think it's positioning in case, because if you look at where it was prior to the pandemic, it was all the way up in the 140, 150 area. That's almost 50% lower right now. Not quite, but almost. Something to keep an eye on. But I will tell you this, I actively traded this stock here on this pullback because I was like, all right, couldn't get, again, you're watching everything we're doing every day. I'm reading the tape. What's the right price? What's it having a problem getting through? What's the right price? What's the right price? Couldn't get through, couldn't get through, couldn't get through, couldn't get through. Finally got through. I'm like, yeah, here we go. Bounced, pulled back. I bought this bid and I was fully expecting to have the next leg up for probably another 15 or 20 bucks. And you can see that it just turned into a dud. And quite honestly, it was a losing trade, but a good idea. Breakout, pull back. But this also really drills home the point of what the video I made this morning on risk reward. This was only 4 days worth of buying. It wasn't a long-term order flow trade. So that really should affect your conviction level. And thankfully, because of, again, what I taught this morning, I didn't go into the trade heavy because there was only 5 days of buying I was leaning on and support versus long-term order flow. So what's interesting is going to be seeing now, I haven't been able to make money above this level, so I have no reason to be buying above this level until it gets above there and stays there. And I wouldn't be shocked if the resistance holds up, at the very least, yesterday's high. So the question we're getting is what other stocks are in play today? Again, nothing for 8 weeks and 1 day. So I want to caution you, work your orders in these positions because it's trading off of news, which it should be trading off of news because it's good news for these sectors that I'm about to show you. But it's very important, as we spent a lot of time yesterday discussing, if there's not a lot of price history, you have to learn how to work the orders, which means go in with smaller share size, get feedback from the market, let it prove to you it's going to keep moving in that direction. Only then do you start adding your position. You can go in with heavier share size when you get a trade like this, where it's obvious over days, weeks, and months, and you can get a little more aggressive because there's more price history from the smart money, buying and buying and buying from days, weeks, and months. And there's a big difference between. So hopefully you can see that versus this and get a really good idea of, oh, wow, that's obvious now. And you learn to work the orders a little bit. So some of the stocks that meet that criteria that we're going to be watching today for follow through, RCL, obviously CCL as well, AAL, CAR. And again, you can see all of these do not have a lot of history behind them. They're trading the most recent price action. You can almost say that you're just actively trading the most recent price action. And play also meets that criteria. And again, not great price action. You're just trading this price action right now, which means you need to work the order, okay? OSTK has been in the list for a while. Hopefully you've been joining us in this stock. A little bit of distribution here where it's whipping back and forth top. That is the definition or the chart pattern of what you don't want to see. You do want to see tight patterns like this that explode. You don't want to, actually, this is a really good example here. Tight pattern that follows through, tight pattern that follows through, tight pattern that follows through, and you can clearly see this is a lot whippier. And the last thing you want to see here is heavier volume, and that's what we're seeing, which generally speaking leads to a reversal. Now, that doesn't mean bail on the trade. It just means something changed. If you watch our videos on a regular basis, something changed, which means your trade management changes. We'll probably move those stops up a little bit more. Some other stocks that we're looking at today on the long side, CTSH needs to stay above this breakout level of 59. Lennar, hopefully you've been watching Lennar with us. It actually popped and stayed. So we've been watching it here. It had relative strength to the rest of the sector. We've been watching this level. Doesn't have huge upside, but what's interesting, very much like we watched Home Depot going into yesterday, which did not have a good follow-through day, this is actually showing relative strength. So it's stuff you need to pay attention to set up trades in your tracking journal should these finally break out and things change. Nice call yesterday by Sari in PGR. Again, not necessarily a day trade, but cleared some really nice levels. And as long as it stays above, let's just call it 85, could set up and it has actually set up a nice swing trade. And again, stuff we need to keep in our list, NBACs. We're starting to see some melted candles, starting to see a lot of indecision. The bloom might be off of this a little bit in the short term. I absolutely still like it long, so a lower opening is a buying opportunity, especially if you're looking to initiate a new swing trade. We did have a couple of stocks. Obviously, MRNA still in play, as it should be. You should be watching the stock every day. It's just a question of where. Big lesson here, though. I was very clear yesterday that I said I absolutely want to be day trading this stock if. And the biggest ones was if it stayed above the opening price. And if we could just go into that really quickly. The opening price is all the way up here, and I'll draw it just so you can really get a good visualization of it. And there's a lot of people at home right now that are day trading. That's the line in the sand. I was very clear. I said, as long as it's above the opening price, I'm going to be aggressive and be buying. It wasn't at all the whole day, so I let it go. Those are the rules you need to trade to start positioning yourself to be in good positions. And the last two I want to point out, the financial stocks just can't get out of their own way from one day to the next. Goldman Sachs actually traded double normal volume on a failed breakout yesterday. That's a big sign. We actually finally popped through this level. It looked like we had some room to go, but the volume just spiked. Look at that. That's not what you want to see when you're breaking out to what we call a new 20-day breakout, which also highlights what I said, what we really picked up in the room. We're sharing it with each other in the community is the breakouts aren't working. So you stay away from these opportunities until they prove to you that they're going to work. And same thing with JP Morgan, just kind of a dud there as well. I'm finding them very hard to trade. So a lot to unpack today. There's a lot going on. The ECB about an hour from now announcing interest rate decision. Let's see how that affects the futures. Netflix after hours, a lot of those bank stocks and J&J pre-market. We unpacked a lot of stuff today. If you're going to look at those stocks that are not the stay-at-home stocks like Wayfair and those guys, now we're going back outside to look at Home Depot, Lowe's, and Lennar. And obviously Expedia, the cruise lines, the airlines. We didn't bring up AAL. Oh, yeah, we did. Car and Play. So a lot going on there, a lot to unpack. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a lesson that we're talking about every single day in the community. If you're not sure what's going on, stay in cash. If you like good ideas that aren't working out and you're taking good trades, lower your share size and work the positions. Let the market give you feedback when the trade is working, and only then should you start adding to the position. When we have better conditions, clear conditions from day to day and week to week, that's when we can start trading a little bigger, a lot more share size, more positions, and actually hold a little bit longer. We're not in that condition right now. Even the NASDAQ's turning around just a little bit, and the Russell, which is the small caps, starting to rally, which is usually a top. We'll see how it unfolds, but that's the conditions we're in right now. There's some indecision, so be smart. If you want your account to be going up every day and on a weekly and monthly basis, you need to really pick the right battles and manage your trades correctly. When it's obvious, hold longer and maybe get a little bit longer size, bigger size. We're not really in that right now, so you got to work them a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more cash flow oriented. But then when you get those couple of trades that are doing exactly what you want it to do, those are the ones you have to hold. We joked around a little bit this morning, but it's the truth. It's your winning trades that are ruining your trading account because you're not making that distinction between great idea and everything else. It's those great ideas you got to make those bigger profits on, so the small profits kind of vanish and they don't matter anymore. So anyway, good luck today. If you like the videos, definitely subscribe to the channel. If you have any ideas you'd like for us to look at, definitely leave some feedback, as well as if you have some winners off of the stuff we're doing. I'd love to hear about that too. Have a great day, everybody.